Like there was this one woman who like she used to smoke cigarettes and she got into vaping and she just had to quit completely cold turkey, and then had a good conversation with someone else where it's like the ultimate show of control when it comes to like an addiction or a substance is not when you quit it completely. It's when you can still do it, but completely control your intake and your frequency of doing it. You know, it's like,
damn, but that's like final boss level, bro.
No,
like, you
exactly.
don't jump straight there,
right?
Yeah.
And basically it's easier to quit vaping completely than it is to, I'll only hit a vape like twice a night or something like that. And I realized, at least for something like this, that I don't know if I'll ever feel honestly capable of doing that final boss level of just doing it sparingly. This is modern day Hippie. We are your homies who've done nearly every drug under the sun. Over 600 psychedelic trips and nearly every kind of bender you can possibly imagine have armed us with a universe of knowledge. I'm Yuki, and with my co-host Reggie, we talk about how we do drugs in a responsible, safe, and fun way to improve our lives. Before we dive in, and so we don't get sued, a quick legal disclaimer.
This podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. Our goal is to educate and inform others about the realities of substance use in an engaging and entertaining format. We share these experiences so you can learn from them without trying them yourself. By listening to this podcast, you agree not to attempt to recreate anything found in this episode or in any of our other content. We are not confessing to any acts stated in this podcast. The content in this episode should not be treated as factual or real in any way.
With that, we welcome you through our portal and hope you enjoy the show.
What's up, hippies? Hope you're having a vibey day today. I'm Reggie, joined by my co-host Yuki. And Yuki, it's been a while since we've recorded, man. What you been up to?
I've been good, man. Nothing crazy, honestly. Taking it pretty easy with things in the drug-related part of things. But wanted to dive straight into today's topic, which is something that I've been kind of going through in my life and I thought would be helpful to share with you and our listeners on the pod. And namely, that topic is quitting vaping. And this is something that I've been thinking about for a while. And I want to share like a few reasons why, honestly, I think this has been the hardest thing I've wanted to quit and gone about quitting for a variety of reasons. And so I can kind of start off like talking a bit about like my background with vaping, which honestly makes it pretty insidious because I've never been a serious vapor. Like I think I've bought maybe 3 vapes in my entire life. And I very much became the person where even back in college, like I never owned a vape, but I would borrow friends or mostly I would mooch off them and vape socially.
Yeah.
Right. As I'm sure many of us are. And like, honestly, shout out to all my friends who are homies and never got upset at me for letting me hit their vapes throughout the many years that it has now been. But it was something where it was like, I never really thought of myself as someone like who vapes. It was like, oh, I just do it socially. Like when I was drinking, I loved hitting friends' vapes when I was drinking. That was very much a habit that went hand in hand, which is ironic actually, because for a lot of smokers, they also associate smoking with drinking. And I know quite a few people who like those two negative habits are very tightly linked. And then even after I stopped drinking, was doing other drugs, even when I'm just like going out to concerts or raves, whatever, or just having a night in of hanging and doing drugs at a friend's house, would always just be hitting vapes, man. And I honestly, for the longest time, I never thought it was a big enough issue to quit because it wasn't something I was like hitting day to day. And it was one of those things where it's like in my regular life, when I'm at home or I'm at work, there's no vapes in sight. There's none around me. And I don't even think about it, right? Like it's not an issue. But as soon as I'm around a vape, like something in my brain just clicks and is like, oh, I want that. And it just kind of like enters this like fiendish mode that I really in the last couple of months started noticing more of.
Is that what made you want to quit? Just noticing like your behavior, or is there something else that made you want to quit?
Yeah, so it was a few things combined that made me want to quit. So I would say the biggest one was a friend of mine going into 2025, into the new year. He was actually doing like no drugs at all going into the new year. And he's being very cautious about what drugs he's reintegrating back into his life. But honestly, props to him. He went from doing quite a few drugs, granted, it's like socially, like not in any, super like debilitating way, and was still, living a, by all definitions, a very successful, normal life. But I was kind of talking with him and going through his reflections on why he wanted to quit drugs. And he was like, yeah, man, even though I was like super high functioning and doing all the things and crushing it at work and crushing it in the gym and all that, like he realized that he was still kind of depending a bit on substances. And he was a buddy of mine who like did like own a vape and would vape kind of regularly throughout the day. And that was something that
He
was
quit
really good
that
for him.
too as part of it?
Yeah. So he did.
Oh,
He quit that
shit.
completely. And honestly, I was so inspired by that going into 2025 that I was like, all right, I didn't do any drugs, I think for about a month between like December and January. But my main thing was like, dude, all of January, I'm not going to hit a single vape. And I did that. And honestly, it felt really nice. It felt good. There were a few instances where I was at events where people were vaping. And honestly, it was really hard to not do it.
Yeah.
Like it was, I was thinking about it a lot. I was staring at it and I'd be like, oh, like I would just kind of like make that noise. My friends would be like, hey, sorry, man, we'll try not to like, just leave the vape on the table in front of you because they know I like to hit it and they'll just like offer it to me. And so it's like even harder to say no then.
Right.
And then what happened was I ended up going on a trip with some friends a couple weeks ago, and one of my buddies there brought a vape, and I was like, hey, do you mind if I hit this? And so he let me hit it, and it was like a 5-day trip. And over the course of the trip, like every day, I was kind of hitting it more and more. It was making me feel shittier and shittier. And I've known for a long time, dude, like after I have a night of vaping fairly consistently, I just don't feel good, dude. Like I feel anxious. I feel nauseous.
Yeah.
My stomach gets pretty upset and like pretty gassy from just like inhaling the fumes. So like, it's one of those things where I know it just makes me feel terrible, but it's such a like take. It's something that just like, it's one of the things that I know is damaging to me that I just do without thinking. And like, that is like textbook definition of an addiction.
Dude, it's literally an addictive substance. Like,
No, exactly. And so like,
are
I
these
was honestly,
dispos? Like,
yeah, they're like geek bars.
oh, okay.
Or similar. And I was feeling kind of shitty about that. And I was feeling especially shitty after that trip that happened at the beginning of February, where I was like, I got back from the trip and I was like, damn, I feel like ass, like breaking the vape so much. And then actually I was talking with my girlfriend who has had a very similar relationship with vapes as I have had. And actually 2 separate people in her life got diagnosed with like pretty advanced stage cancers at like in their late 30s or early 40s, which is ridiculously early for cancers. And while I don't think their cancers had anything to do with vaping, for her, since she's a little bit older than me, it was a wake up call for her to be like, damn, like this is like, cancer is something that can hit. And so it just made her more cognizant of like, all right, let's make sure we're just staying on top of like our checkups and whatnot. But also as I was thinking about it, I was like, dude, in the long run of my life, like if there's one thing that might do me in or raise my risk of like dying of premature death from something like cancer or shit like that, it just might be vaping, dude. It's just like, we don't know what we're inhaling. Like all this stuff is not very well regulated. It's super new. And
it's new, bro. You don't even know the long-term effects.
No, absolutely not. And it's like going into this year, I was literally like, I was thinking to myself, what are the lowest hanging fruit of changes I can make in my life to like be very positive for my health in the long run? And honestly, initially, I wasn't even like thinking of quitting vaping as one of them. But when the cancer thing came up and me thinking about it, I was like, dude, like smoking cigarettes is awful for you. Like that lowers your life expectancy tremendously. Vaping, like probably not as bad, but still it's just these unknown things you're fucking inhaling to your lungs regularly. And I'm like, damn, man, like I honestly pride myself on living a super healthy lifestyle, like fit, eating healthy, all that shit. But I'm like, damn, I'm like inhaling just these awful chemicals into my body. It's like, okay, that is obviously the lowest hanging fruit thing that I should be quitting. And so my girlfriend and I basically like promised each other, it's like, hey, we're both going to quit completely and we're going to just like get past this, you're not hitting it socially. Yeah, man. Because honestly, the thing I realized on that trip that I was talking about where I was hitting my friend's vape, I realized that for me, I've either got to be quit completely or I can't just hit it sporadically enough to not make it more of a habit. And actually, I was at a friend's birthday this past weekend where it was just like a great like all night hangout. And actually, I brought up the topic of quitting vaping to a couple people there. And this is a group where, again, a few people have vapes, kind of everyone else smooshes, and it's just like part of the dynamic and it's super chill. But actually like heard some good stories from folks who like, there was this one woman who like she used to smoke cigarettes and she got into vaping and she just had to quit completely cold turkey, and then had a good conversation with someone else where it's like the ultimate show of control when it comes to like an addiction or a substance is not when you quit it completely. It's when you can still do it, but completely control your intake and your frequency of doing it. You know, it's like,
Damn, but that's like final boss level, bro.
No,
like, you
exactly.
Don't jump straight there,
right?
Yeah.
And basically it's easier to quit vaping completely than it is to I'll only hit a vape like twice a night or something like that. And I realized, at least for something like this, that I don't know if I'll ever feel honestly capable of doing that final boss level of just doing it sparingly, because I tried that on the trip, and by the 4th or 5th day, like I was just fiending like crazy, and it was just ridiculous, man. And so this honestly made me reflect a lot on like other things I've like quit from. Obviously, the biggest one in my life has been quitting alcohol. But as I was reflecting on my story with that, which like TLDR, I used to be a very heavy drinker. And then after a specific night of doing quite a bit of shrooms and Molly, I kind of went down the train of thought of like, why do I drink? Like, why is this super damaging drug so popular, so common, so like embraced by society? And literally that night, I feel like I found a switch in my head that was the switch for wanting alcohol. I turned it off, and legitimately I have not drank. I have not wanted to drink since then. And I realized that like that was a quitting story for me, where like I didn't really have to try. I didn't have to try at all. Like it just kind of fell in my lap, and I got so ridiculously lucky for that. Like it was so low effort, man. Like it just happened magically. Like seriously, it was miraculous from how much I used to drink before that to not wanting. I don't crave it. If I smell liquor now, like it makes me gag. And it made me realize, like, dude,
That's
like
how
nicotine.
It smells before you started drinking.
I know,
like,
right? You just kind of get used to it. And it just made me realize, man, like this is the hardest thing I've had to quit. Yeah, dude. So I've just been reflecting on that, honestly. And I had the month where I didn't vape at all. It felt good, and I proved to myself that I could do it. But also, after a month of not vaping, it didn't feel good enough to make me immediately be like, oh, I'm never doing this again. Right? Because with alcohol, I was like, I didn't drink for the first 2 months. And then I was like, oh, I'm going to reassess. And I was like, dude, I feel so much better after these 2 months than when I drank at all. I'm like, fuck alcohol. I'm done with this shit. Whereas with vaping, I was like, you know, you feel shitty like in the next like 24 hours actively. Then you kind of feel back to normal. But obviously, you don't know the effects it's had on your body. And so that also tricked me into being like, oh, after the month when I quit, I was like, oh, you know, I can do it again. Like it's not having that negative of an effect on my life to vape.
Dude, that's so interesting. I always found vaping like such an interesting addiction because people get so addicted to it.
Yeah.
And like me personally, I don't feel like I can really relate too much. And I'm not sure why. I think it's because of the way that I've always hit vapes. Like for the longest time, I wouldn't really inhale them, like not intentionally, but I just like, it just kind of made me cough too much whenever I'd inhale too much. So I'd kind of just like play with the smoke, get the flavor.
Right.
And, you know, inhale on occasion. But there's a big noticeable difference in like the buzz when you like take a deep inhale of a vape, like especially something that's like a throat hit, like a Juul or something like that. There's like a very big noticeable difference between like really taking a hit and then just like casually just like puffing on it, you know? But that's a tough one, man, because I know a lot of people who vape, and it's kind of an epidemic amongst the people our age, dude. Like
absolutely.
Most people like that, like, you know, will go out or whatever or socialize that I've seen, like they have some sort of nicotine addiction, whether it's like Zyn pouches or vapes, or unfortunately some people are still smoking cigarettes out here.
Yeah.
But, or even hookah or something, you know what I mean? Like shisha, like people be doing that too. So it's, I feel you, man, that's a tough one. But just like with any other drug, like the ideal state, like you said, is to be able to use it as a tool pretty much, which is honestly like how I use vapes now. I don't really have a desire to vape. I'm around it literally every day. My wife vapes.
Right.
I just don't really, for some reason, like that switch you're talking about in your brain, like when you see a vape and like you want to hit it, like that's been turned off for me, or maybe it was never really turned on, which is good, I guess. But now it's like the only time I'd ever pick up a vape or just like hit my wife's vape or fill up an old vape that I have laying around or something is whenever I want to kind of lock in on something and really focus. And I treat it kind of like caffeine, but like knowing that it won't keep me up at night. Like, but everyone's different, dude. Because like I'm also really sensitive to caffeine. So like that's like, maybe that's related. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, again, like something we talk about a lot in the show is how everyone's body is different and reacts differently can react differently to literally any substance. And it's funny because I am also extremely sensitive to caffeine. Like I consume almost no caffeine. Like I drink tea sometimes, and that's like, I don't drink, period. I do not drink coffee. It does not make me feel good. But vaping, like I realized for me, right, and now going into some things that like are honestly, I think helping me quit, and that I am also realizing about like my specific addiction to it. So I realized that for me, a fairly big part of the vaping addiction was just like the oral fixation and just having something in my hands when I'm like interacting with people or just something to do. And I've honestly been realizing recently in my life that I do have a bit of that. Like, I don't know if it's like anxiety or like OCD or just, I'm just like kind of fidgety. And even in my normal life, dude, I realize that when I'm on work calls, like with my remote work, if there's a call where I need to pay attention, but don't actively need to participate in, I end up getting distracted because I'm doing things on my computer in parallel. But it's strictly just because like I want to be doing something like with my hands. Like I can't just like keep them by my side and just listen. I just want to do something. And so I literally bought a freaking like a fidget toy on Amazon. It's like a 12-sided fidget toy. And dude, it's been helping me like a lot. Like when I'm in these calls, I'm just like, yeah, like I'm like, while I'm on a call, like just like, obviously I don't have it on camera, but I'm just like pushing the buttons or like playing with the joystick or stuff like that. And it's been helping a lot. And I'm like, damn, okay, like, clearly this fidgeting thing is just a little like quirk about myself, right? It's
Dude,
never
I
like,
don't even think it's that like unique of a thing. Like my work actually gave us all fidget spinners, like branded fidget spinners and pens with little like spinny things on the end for you to like fidget with. Yeah. Specifically for exactly what you're talking about. Like,
nice. Okay. Yeah. And so kind of like combining that realization in my day-to-day life with going out when I vape, I just like having something to like hit is a nice one. And so I got very lucky because I think it was like a year or two ago, I was DJing an event at like this like startup conference fair thing. And one of the companies at this conference is a company called Fume, F-U-M. And what they do is they sell this like wooded and metal device it's like a vape, but nothing comes out. Like you suck it in and you just get air. And it's literally meant to be a thing to like help you quit vaping so that you kind of are meeting that oral fixation and that fidgety thing, but you're not smoking anything. You're literally just inhaling air and like, you know, you pretend to blow it out because it's funny and also it's what you're used to doing. And I've had this thing for 1 or 2 years now. I've never treated it seriously. I honestly would just carry it around in my like going out fanny pack where, you know, every night before I go out, I have my like habit of like, all right, like what drugs do I want to bring? Where do I put them? And this was one of those items that just perpetually lived in my fanny pack. And literally it just became a party trick for me. Like I'd pull it out with my friends and be like, yo, you want to take a rip of air? And like people just got a kick out of it. But I never really considered it. I was like, oh, I'm actually going to use this to quit vaping. Now that I'm like actively trying to do this, at least at this party this past weekend where there were people vaping around me and they're offering it to me, like they're always very welcoming with letting me hit it. Whenever I would get that like itch or my mind was like fiending actively, I would literally just get it out and I would just like habitually hit it. And I would like, it also kind of twists. It has a bit of like a fidget component to it as well.
Right.
It gives you something to do. And honestly, like I would just do that, you know, while I'm like talking with someone or whatever until my desire to like vape, until that fiendy feeling went away. And honestly, I feel like it helped a decent bit. I feel like it was really solid. And my hypothesis is that over time, like that fiendy feeling will go down over time. And something else that made me feel good about that was the woman who I was talking to at this party who quit smoking cigarettes and then quit vaping. She was just telling me how like just after like she quit cold turkey and it was so fucking hard for her, but just over time she got like less and less of those, you know, brain fixations of being like, oh, like want nicotine, blah, blah, blah. And so I'm feeling good about it. And honestly, I feel like proud now to be like, okay, I am quitting for the long run. I'm not going to hit it again. The other thing that's really helping me quit is that I have an accountability buddy, right? Like my girlfriend's the exact same boat. Right. And we're both like, we like picky promise. We're like, all right, we're both quitting this because we want to live a long life and not run the risk of getting some bullshit like lung cancer or esophageal cancer, whatever these things might cause. And like this past weekend, she was out of town. And so I was at this event by myself and I was like, oh, maybe I hit it. And then like I actually start not hitting it like when she's back. And I was like, no, Yuki, like, fuck that. You're not hitting this shit. And it was tough. Thoughts, man. But it was, yeah. And we've also talked about, yeah. And like, she's also had the idea of like, oh, like, what about every time you want to hit a vape, like you eat like a Sour Punch Kid or like you have some candy so that you're still getting like some dopamine hit, but it's something that is, I think, a lot less damaging. But who knows?
I've heard of the rubber band trick where like you keep a rubber band around your wrist every time you want to hit a vape, you just like smack yourself a little bit. But the Sour Patch thing sounds way better. Like, or even the Fume. Those things are dope. After I saw yours, that you showed me a while ago, I actually bought one for my wife because she really liked it.
Oh,
And
sick.
she uses it not too often, to be honest, but it's the fidgeting component you're talking about. They kind of like went all in on that. I feel like recently the company has, at least. And I got her like this rubber tip that you put over the mouthpiece that you can like chew on so that you can fidget that way. And then also like the base stand that you can get with it. It's another fidget thing by itself because it functions as like a little spinner. Like it's like magnetic and it just kind of spins. So it's like the fidgeting thing is real. It's more of a fidget toy than anything else.
Right.
But yeah, those things are dope. Not sponsored or anything. But
no, honestly, that's really sick. I have not looked into them for a while. I just remember when I got mine for free, I asked them how much it cost, and I thought it was kind of ridiculous. I think back then
they're so expensive,
$70 or $80. Like it's a piece of like wood and metal. And granted, it's very well machined. Like it looks and it feels great, but kind of ridiculous. But also, it's like honestly, if I didn't already have one and I was serious about quitting vaping, and I found out about them, like I would probably spend that money because it's another piece of accountability. It's like, damn, I spent all this money on this tool to try to get me to quit vaping. Like, let me actually try to make sure that monetary investment wasn't for nothing, right? So I could see that psychologically being, a good thing. But also I have a feeling that this is one of those things that is most frequently given like as a gift. Like I think this does make a good gift. It reminds me, honestly,
it's an expensive gift. It was almost $200 for the pack that I got her with the different flavors or whatever.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it does remind me of Snow-Go a little bit.
Yeah, right. Like Snow-Go's make a great gift. Like it's a premium product. It's very functional and obviously very different use cases between the few and the Snow-Go.
Quite the opposite.
Like I would say, like I feel like similar people would buy them for other people who maybe are doing drug related things. But yeah, man, wanted to have just this like open and honest conversation. Like I think also, give myself an example of like I'm not immune to this stuff, and again, every substance affects us. Exactly, every substance affects us differently.
I feel you. Oh yeah, exactly. Every substance affects us differently. And dude, I feel you with like nobody's immune. Like for real. Like I say that like I don't really get addicted to like vaping and stuff, and like I'm not sure why, but I'll be like fully honest. Like the times that I do choose to vape, I know that I'm fucking reaching for that shit like subconsciously. You know what I mean? Like I will keep on like reaching for it and wanting to hit it like in those moments. Like what's helped me is that once I put it down, like for the day or whatever, then I put it down like for real. And there's a lot of like science we could talk to about like habit forming and like your environment and all that stuff that goes into it. And then there's the whole other conversation about how much free will do you really have when it comes to your decisions? But that's a whole other deep conversation that we've touched on the podcast a bit in the past. But these substances really, they rewire your brain. Like even nicotine, like as harmless as it is, like it rewires your brain, dude. So like, I hope you don't feel guilty or anything about your addiction, and nobody watching this should feel any kind of guilt around having an addiction to something, because it's not necessarily all your fault type of thing,
Oh yeah, absolutely not. Right. And I think the first step, which it was for me, was like admitting like, okay, like this is an addiction and that doesn't reflect like terribly on me. It's something where this substance has some power over me. I'm like, I don't like that. And here are the active steps I'm taking for it. And honestly feel pretty good about them. And honestly, I'm just thinking about like, okay, if I was completely stopping vaping, like that's honestly a pretty big like long-term risk factor from my health that's like taken out of the picture, right? And that's great because
dude, and that's what the research shows is that like apparently from what I've read, one of the most effective ways, if not the most effective way to quit something like smoking or vaping is just educating yourself on the negative effects of it. So the fact that when you say, oh, I'm going to quit and it's going to help my health because of X, Y, and Z, you're already down the right path of going down like a healthy way of quitting. Because people who try to quit cold turkey without like justifying it properly or like learning about the facts, like it's a lot harder. It's a lot more difficult. It's a lot more based on willpower than it is based on like, hey, here's a good reason for you not to do this. Like, so honestly, like for anyone trying to quit something, just like educate yourself. Like that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, man. And the last thing I want to share that I haven't, it's a book. I haven't read this book personally, but every person I've talked to who's either quit smoking cigarettes or even quit smoking weed or quit vaping, like this book is apparently like the Bible of quitting smoking. It's I think it's what it's called, How to Quit Smoking by Alan Carr. It's just a pretty short book, and like apparently it works magic. And I've been curious just to read it. It's like even like I'm honestly probably at a good point to start reading it. I had a friend who recently bought it, and so I'm gonna borrow it from him when he finishes it. But I've heard that this book is like the shit. Like it literally like psychologically makes you like not want to smoke anymore. And this book has been around for a long time, like bestseller. I have no idea what approach the author takes, but I'm genuinely so curious, like how he tries to kind of rewire your own psychology through reading this book to make people literally go from being like a pack-a-day smokers to quitting and being like, I literally don't crave another cigarette ever again. Like that's incredible.
Yeah, for real. That is incredible. I wouldn't be surprised if he just like educated people on what smoking really does, and then also threw in a bunch of like emotional stories and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm totally guessing here, but yeah, that sounds like a good book to read for sure.
Yeah, man. Honestly, I will read it and report back because genuinely so curious, like even just from the psychological perspective. But I think this is also pretty pertinent to my life right now.
Yeah, man. Keep us updated on your journey, man. I want to hear updates of you not smoking, just like we hear about with alcohol on here. Like, you haven't had a drink since,
like
it's been well over a year. Yeah. How many years has it been now?
I think 3 or 4 years since I officially quit. In that time, like I had a few sips here and there, and every time I was just further confirmed to myself that I'm literally not missing anything. Like,
yeah. So. And I mean, that's your ultimate form of control. Like you said, that's that final boss level. The fact that you were able to take a couple of sips and it was fine.
True. Yeah, man.
And man, yeah. I wonder if the shrooms helped you out with the rewiring of your brain. I don't know.
Oh, dude, I 100% believe so. Like, I think I like somehow just magically therapized myself in that day. I was having such a good time and my brain was just in the state of mind of being like, I just went down this train of thought where it's like, why is alcohol the only societally approved drug? Like, this is fucking ridiculous. Like, it is. And around then I had recently learned just how like bad it is for you and all the studies on it. I was like, fuck alcohol plus being on shrooms and Molly and having a great time and being like, oh, other drugs are so much more fun. Yeah. But anyway, guys, hope you all enjoyed the episode. Curious to hear if any of you guys are maybe trying to quit nicotine as well. If y'all have some New Year's resolutions around that, or if it's something you guys are interested in, because it's happy to record some more episodes on this and do my own journey with this. Because like I said at the beginning, this is not easy, man. It's hard. When I'm around it, my brain is very focused on wanting to hit it. And it does take a lot of willpower, a lot of discipline to not do it. So I feel you there with you guys. And that's today's pod.
You've been listening to Modern Day Hippie. As you exit the portal, we have just one small ask of you. If you learned something new today, had a laugh, or resurfaced a drug story of your own, we want to hear about it. Drop us a comment on YouTube and show us some love on your favorite podcasting platforms. Internet algorithms really dog on us because of the topics that we discuss, so your support goes even further here than you might think. We'll catch you next week.